Welcome to another episode of Alpha Intuition Podcast, where we empower you to become the CEO of your life. I'm your host, Keisha L. Blair, #1 life balancing coach and certified extreme execution coach. And if this is your first time watching, please make sure that you like and subscribe and also hit that notification button so you can get notified when we drop our episodes, usually every Saturday morning. Now, guests, today I am thrilled to introduce someone who is a remarkable friend of mine. She is the founder and CEO of Richardson Speaks Global and an award-winning professor, educator, speaker, and author. She's passionate about empowering others through effective communication, fostering belonging, and cultivating a growth balanced mindset. Alpha Intuition family, it is my absolute honor to introduce my friend from the DMV, Wynette Richardson. Wynette, what is up, girl?
Hey, what's going on? How are you today?
I am doing great, doing wonderful. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy to have you on here so we can talk about all these wonderful things and all these different things that you have going on in your life.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on the podcast. Listen, I'm so ready to dig in. Let's get this party started.
All right. So the first thing I know I mentioned this, the first thing I want to talk about, because I know you're in the educational space, let's just talk about transformational leadership in education. So I know you are an award-winning professor. So can you talk about just how leaders in the educational space can create an environment that fosters both professional and personal growth for their students?
Absolutely. Yes, this is year 17 for me in the classroom. And one of the things that I truly enjoy are the students. I really do. I really enjoy the students. One thing that I've just noticed as I've matriculated through my career about the students really do want to learn. They really want to learn and they really want to grow. And guess what? They see us. We spend a lot of time with them. And so that means we have to lead by example. So what I've done is just make sure that as their professor, that I show up for them and I lead them by example. And I share with them like how life can really transform for you. What does that look like? How does that work? And so I just bring just true, honest experiences to the classroom. I share with them about who I am, my experience as a student, because listen, it has not been an easy road, right? And so I just lead them by an example because I can't ask them to be something and do something if I'm not doing that myself. So I show up as a whole person in the classroom for them.
Yes, that's really good. So now you teach on the collegiate level?
I do teach on the collegiate level. Yes.
Okay. So now have you ever taught on the K through 12 level as well?
I have. I actually started my career as a 7th grade language arts teacher.
Girl, 7th
Yes.
grade. Oh, wow. 7th graders, God bless you.
7th grade, it's one, I think middle school is either you love middle school or middle school is just not your jam. I don't think there's like a really in between. That's just my personal opinion. I loved it. I loved it.
So what is like from your expertise or from just from your side, what is one of the biggest differences that you see between the 7th graders and the students that you teach now on collegiate level?
Yeah, good question. Before I answer your question, I will say I also have experience in teaching high school as well. So I've had the experience of teaching middle school and high school. And the difference between middle school, high school, and college is that students have a different mindset when it comes to education. When I say a different mindset, when we are 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, we know that we have to go to school. We have to get our education. We have those things because it's almost like a requirement. For college, we're there because we want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And as the educational landscape continues to shift, we see students at the collegiate level that are multi-generational. And so there are some students at the college level that are in their second career, or they have raised their families and now they're coming to college, or they're changing their careers, or whatever the case may be. So you have a different type of student when we get to the collegiate level. And because of the different types of students that we have, it's all a mindset. So it's a difference when I'm going to school because I have to go to school versus I'm going to school because I have to feed my family. I have to make sure that I'm providing for my lineage. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so just the mindset of the students sometimes. Now, that's not saying that the students that are in K through 12 are not focused and want to be there and things of that nature, because a lot of them are, but it's
Yeah.
also a difference when you're 13 to 17 versus when you're 25 to 65,
Yes, it's almost like that hierarchy of needs. It's almost you have a shift in what you need to
Absolutely.
help you be successful.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we've all gone through it. It's not necessarily like a K through 12 or a collegiate thing. It's really like an age thing. It really is, that hierarchy of needs. It is that, am I living at home or am I living on my own? So it's just
Mm-hmm.
really where we are in our lives. And I'm just going to say this and then I'll give it back to you. And it comes back to that transformational leadership. How
Mm-hmm.
do I be an example in the classroom for my students, whether they are between ages of 13 and 17 or that 25 to 65, right? Because it also helps them to understand their position as a student if I am leading them in a way that's going to transform their lives.
Yes, yes. So when you think about the mindset that a leader has to be in order to deal with someone who may be, is no longer from that K through 12, but you can be from 18 on up when you're dealing with someone like that. So, what mindset shift do you believe is critical for leaders to adopt in order to inspire and lead effectively when they deal with such a wide range of age in the classroom?
Yeah, that's so good. That is so good. Be open minded.
Ah, good. Yeah, that's
Be
good.
open minded. I say being open minded because, to be very honest, as a leader, it is very important for me to know the people that I'm leading. If I do not know the people that I am leading, then I cannot be an effective leader.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to say that one more time. If I do not know the people that I am leading, then I am not able to be an effective leader. And so that helps me to remain open minded. Being open minded has really helped me to understand my students a lot more. And I'll just give you this example, right? This example is that I always do an icebreaker with my students, and sometimes they're just super random.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I really relate to my students with is music. And so I always ask them their music of choice, and or they'll tell me a song, and they're like, "Are you going to listen to it?" I was like, "Absolutely, I am." And so I listen to the music, and I sometimes have to come back and say, "This is what you listen to?" They're like, "I mean, yeah, but," and then what I'll do is I will take note, and then I will insert the lyrics or the artist or whomever or however to make that connection with them. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, like you really did listen to this?" Yeah. And so I actually did that, right, one time. And the artist that they had me listen to was Glorilla.
Oh boy,
And
that's the first name that came to my mind. I was like, please don't tell me these children had you listening to Glorilla, girl.
and they did. And to be very honest, I mean, I can't stop listening to it, right? And so they think it is the funniest thing. They're like, oh my gosh, are you really serious? And I'm like, absolutely. And so I'm sharing this story because I probably wouldn't have listened to it on my own, right? But I
Mhm.
was open-minded to listen to artists that they listen to. And now that I was just open to listen to what they listen to, now they see me in a different perspective. Now they know that I'm very open. Now they know that I'm very warm. I'm very welcoming. And guess what? It shifted the classroom. They no longer have a setback moment where I don't want to ask the professor a question. They're texting, they're emailing, they want to meet in office hours just because I listen to Glorilla. They
Mm.
know that I see them, I hear them, and I am connecting with them. It totally shifted their mind about writing an essay
Wow. So
because I
that's good.
stopped
So
for a moment to know who my students are.
yeah, so that was gonna you made me think of something. So
Mhm.
just thinking about your style of teaching and the growth that you had. So what mindset shift did you have to have personally that made you want to start speaking to others about effective communication and belonging and mindset?
Oh, that's actually kind of twofold. The first the first thing is Miss Wanda White, my 10th grade US history teacher.
Mhm.
And I tell her this all the time. She literally changed my life when she called my parents.
Oh.
She called my parents when I was in the 10th grade. And she talked to my parents about, the things that I was doing in class. I wasn't doing anything but talking, go figure. But it changed my life. It changed my life. And it helped me to understand that my teacher really cared about me. And
Mm.
she still cares about me. That was the first thing. And then the second thing that really shifted my perspective, it really shifted my mindset when it came to teaching and it came to connecting with my students, is that when I actually started my career uh, at the collegiate level, I was the only person that really looked like me.
Mm.
I was really the only person that looked like me. That doesn't mean that I didn't belong, because I had the credentials, I had the experience, right? However, I still was the only person that looked like me. So I
Yeah.
know what it feels like to make sure and know that you belong. I know what it feels like for somebody to actually see me and care for me. I know what it feels like to be the only person. I know what it feels like to stand out from the crowd, but know that I belong. And I
Yeah.
want every person that I encounter to know that they too belong, because you are here for a reason. And that's really my mission, especially the educators. Hey, you're here for a reason. You belong.
Yes,
You
that's
know?
good. That actually takes me into my next question for you. I want to talk about leadership and belonging. So you emphasize the
Mhm.
importance of creating a sense of belonging. So how can leaders and organizations foster this environment to empower their teams?
Absolutely. That is a great question. Belonging is a human right, and
Mhm.
that's one of the definitions that Dr. Tyrell Strayhorn talks about when he talks about belonging. It it's a human right. You are in this space for a reason. You are in this space because there is something that you bring to the table, some type of skill, some type of knowledge, some type of something that is uniquely you. And because you're in that space, you're in that room, you're at that table, you do belong. The caveat to that is understanding and knowing that we belong. And so as a leader, as a leader, we have to understand that the people that are sitting at our tables are there for a reason. I may not have the strongest suit when it comes to the technology piece, but my strong suit may be the communication piece. Your strong suit may be the tech piece, right? And therefore, we're both sitting at the table. We're both belong there because we're bringing something that that
Yes.
table needs. And as a leader, we have to be able to see that in each and every person that's at the table. They're there because they belong. They bring something that we need.
So do you think there's a difference, or let me say this, what is the difference between, let's just say in an organization or in the educational space? Do you think there's a difference in how we can incorporate that sense of belonging with our teams?
I honestly don't think there's a quote unquote difference between like an organization and the educational space, because the people that are working in an organization are humans. The people that are working in the educational spaces are humans. And I believe that we need to bring the human effect back everywhere so that the people that are occupying these organizations, these schools, etc., we let them know that they too are human. We see them. We see them. And I just really believe that that's the piece sometimes that we're missing. It's just that human effect.
So that you're just right on point. You're like rolling all into my next questions here. So I want to talk about the evolution of education and AI as we talk about the
Yeah.
human touch and human effect. So as an
Yeah.
educator and a speaker, how do you see the role of educators evolving, especially in the world where, of AI when it comes to fostering that personal and professional growth in students?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will say this. I am an English professor. Okay.
Mm.
I am an English professor.
Let me
I
make
just
sure I
want to
got
be
my
clear
words
about
still right. No.
like I am. I'm an English professor. And I always have to start there as an English professor. There are two things that I do know. First thing, reading and writing will never go away. And then the second thing is AI is here to stay. How do we connect the two? How do we connect the two? And I was actually having this conversation very recently, and just go with me here as I use this as
I'm
an
listening, girl. I'm
example.
on it.
There's one thing that we do know is that like we have to communicate. Even if we're not communicating like you and I are communicating right now, we're probably going to use text and or we might have to fill out a form, whatever the case may be. You still need to be able to read for comprehension, and you still need to be able to write something so that someone can understand what you're communicating to them in a written form. So you still need to have those skills. And if we can go a step further, if you're going to utilize AI, are you even putting in the right things for AI to pick up what you really need and want it to pick up? Because if you do not input the correct things, you cannot get the output of what you're expecting to get. So the input has to be correct in order to get an output. So how do we formulate that input in order to get the output?
Look,
If
I'm going to
AI is
tap.
not understanding what you're saying, then how are you going to use AI? So we still have to know how to communicate.
So you said that you are an English professor. Now, when people turn these papers in, can you tell whether or not it's actually their thoughts or
Take my
AI
glasses off for a
thoughts?
second. Let me take my glasses off for a second. I'm gonna put them back on because I need to be able to see. Focus. All right. So to be very honest, I am not new to this. I am true.
I'm not new to this. I'm true to this.
I have to be 100% honest. I am not new to this. I am true to this. I am not naive that my students probably use AI. However, I am a little old school when it comes to educating. I have a lot of new school twists, like let's be clear. However, I am very old school when it comes to certain things. I truly believe that one of the ways for me to connect with my students is to always have a narrative writing sample from them. It's write it on a piece of paper and turn it into me. I want to see it.
Wait a minute. You want me to use my own? You want to see my handwriting on a piece of paper in a classroom? Ooh.
Yes.
I would get anxiety in your class.
See your handwriting.
You through email?
I want to see your handwriting. And the funny thing is, like, some people are like, I don't even have any paper. I need something to write with. Not a problem. I can help you out. Your classmate can help you out, right? You're like, I do. I always ask them for a writing sample. And it's a writing prompt. I use a writing prompt and I ask them to write about the writing prompt and they submit it. So I have an initial like interaction with their writing, with their comprehension. And then as we go throughout the semester, of course, everything is pretty much submitted online. And so at this time, and as much as we write, I know their writing styles. I know their syntax. I know their voice, their tone. I know them as a person. That's why, let me just go back. Let me run this thing back real quick. That's why I said what I said earlier. You have to know who you are teaching. If you do not make a connection, if you do not make a connection with the students that you are teaching, then you will not understand how they write, what they write, the types of things that they write about. And so when they submit things and it's off.
Oh, girl, I'm sorry. I'm sitting here rolling, trying to hold my laugh in because I'm sitting here thinking, running through my mind was like, so on day one, I give you a paper where I sound like Dr. Seuss. And then when I turn something online, I sound like Shakespeare. It's like, okay.
Remember what I said? I'm not new to this. I'm true to this.
Like, all right, Cat, don't come up here trying to sound like Romeo and Juliet now that I'm asking you to submit it through email.
two roads.
Ooh, girl.
You know, and that's real. And then when we talk about that, like we have to be realistic, right? Like seriously, we have to be realistic in today's society. Like AI is not going anywhere. However, we also need to understand and know that there are just some things that we still have to be able to do. If you're going to use AI, again, are you clearly inputting the information for AI to clearly give you back what you're looking for? Because if you're not clearly identifying what you need, how can AI really give you back what you're looking for? So we had to be very clear on how to utilize it. And so I said all that to say, I like to teach my students how to, and I also like to expose my students to the things that are, and the resources and the tools that are available to them. But always remember that you have to have the skill.
Mm.
You have to have the skill.
So you teach them how to effectively communicate with AI. Hmm. All right, so I want to ask you about your 3E framework because I read your bio and I went to your website.
Yeah.
I'll put that up here in just a minute so you can tell our listeners where to find you. But I read on your website that you have this 3E framework. So tell me about the evolution of the 3E framework.
I always say that we can't control what happens to us in life, but we can always control how we respond to things.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because we cannot, as a young person or like born into something, we couldn't control our environment. As a young person, we couldn't control our exposure. And as a young person, we couldn't control our experience. And so the thing is, when our minds start to develop cognitively, those three things are important: your environment, your exposure, and your experience. And for some of us, we've only been exposed to certain things. We've only been exposed to negativity or trauma or just, we will never get to the place that we want to be. And so that's our mindset. And
Mm-hmm.
because we're surrounded by it, and it's only been our experience, that's the only way that we know how to think. If our experience and our exposure has been positive and we've seen positivity, we're exposed to positivity, we are able to understand a little bit differently. But what happens, right, if we have been exposed to something that's not necessarily positive, but our experiences have been positive? So now it starts to shift our mindsets. And I use experience, exposure, and experience as a framework because, again, it doesn't matter what happens to us, it's how we respond. So now we need to start shifting our minds through our experiences, our exposures, and the things that we have, we go through in life. And so I started this framework in class because the students that I had bad experiences in English classes. So they came to class and they were not excited to learn. They were very, I don't want to use the term negative, but it wasn't like, let me just take this class so I can be done. I don't want to take it again. And I saw how they reacted to like assignments and things of that nature. And I was like, no, we have to change this. Let me expose them to something differently in the classroom. I want their experience to be different. I want their environment to be different. And it's not that it was about me, because it wasn't. I didn't want them to have the same experience again. So I had to shift all of our mindsets about the experience. What do you want this class to look like? Goes back to belonging, right? What kind of experience are you looking for in this class? Other than passing, because I know you want to pass, right?
Yes.
What do I need to bring to the classroom so that you can get the best exposure that you need in order to succeed. And so that's
Yes.
how the framework developed. I created an environment that would help shift their mindset from a negative to a positive. I exposed them to resources and people that helped them shift their mindset from a negative to a positive. I gave them an experience that helped them to shift their mindset from a negative to a positive.
Environment, exposure, and experience. So that is really good. And it's very, just from listening to what you say, it's very, very important that when your students are in your classroom, that you pay attention to all three of those things to make sure that they're in the right environment, they're exposed to certain things, and that they experience something different from what they've experienced in the past and help in order for them to excel in your classrooms. Does that sound about right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's the key. I really believe that that's the key. And if you think about it, just think for a moment. Think back to your favorite teacher, and it wasn't even about like the subject matter. It was the fact of belonging, feeling
Mhm.
seen. And I know, I see Keisha the electrician, and I'm very certain that as you were going through your career and your educational experience, you were probably maybe one of the only people that looked like you in your classes and things of that nature. And so I'm very certain that you still can remember a teacher that made an impact in your life
Oh,
as you were
absolutely.
going through your career. And, we don't have to talk about it or go into detail. I just want you to think about it. And I want the listeners to think about it. I am very certain that your favorite teacher that you've had some type of impact on your life through an experience, through exposing you to something, or through the environment that they created in their classroom.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could think of several teachers that actually helped, throughout my journey, not even
Yeah.
as a electrician, just even in school for
Yeah.
the decisions that I made going into life. So that's very,
Yeah.
very important to have leaders that
Yes.
do that
Yes.
100%.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So I want to ask
Absolutely.
you, about, so what's next for Wynette? Because I know you have a book already, and I have it.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, it's back here on my shelf. I'm gonna zoom over here and go grab it real quick. Where all my favorite books are. It is stuff in here.
Okay.
All right. Oh, if I don't knock over something else. Boom. It's almost like playing Jingle back here, girl. All right. So this is
Listen, I understand.
the transformational journal. Yes. The transformation
Yes.
journal. Transform
Yes.
words
Yes.
into
Yes.
reality. So let's talk about your journal.
Yeah, so my journal, actually, the backstory really quickly about my journal, the transformation journal, is that I literally started to journal a little bit after high school, going into college, but really when I started teaching, I just really started documenting my journey.
Mm.
And as I stated earlier before, what my career looked like, especially in the beginning. And I started just documenting my experiences. And as I was documenting my experiences, it made me realize that one day my experiences could help somebody else. So I just
Mhm.
wrote, I just journaled, I journaled, I journaled, I journaled, I journaled. And then one day when I got this high of journals, literally, I said, I'm going to create a book. And the book actually talks about some anecdotes and talks a little bit about stories. But the most important thing is that it provides a place for you to journal. I ask thought provoking questions for the reader to actually stop in that moment and think about those questions and journal about them. A lot of times we read books and things and we're like, oh, this is good. Or I'm going to come back to it because I had a thought, but we never come back to it. So the purpose of the journal is to read the anecdotal story and then actually journal about it in that moment. And by the time that you start the book and by the time you end the book, you will have a clear vision of your journey and where you want to go and how to get there. So that's the purpose of the Transformation Journal.
I love it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
so
And
what else do you have coming up?
oh, yes. I'm so glad that you asked. I am actually hosting a free masterclass for educators. And
Okay,
I'm
nice.
offering this free masterclass for educators because I know a lot of times we give so much to everyone else. And we need our cups poured back into because we give so much. And so the masterclass is simply to pour into the educators, to let the educators know that I see them, that I hear them, and I understand them. And so I just want to provide some practical tools and strategies that the educators can do to pour back into their cups so they can continue to show up and provide those experiences for their students so that they can show up and provide, those atmospheres for their students, those environments, those experiences. And the master class is designed just for that. Solely focus on the educator. When we're solely focused on the educator, then the educator can show back up and focus on their students. So I designed this and I've crafted this master class just for the educators to pour back into them, to let them know that I see them, I hear them, and they too belong. So this free masterclass is happening on November 14th. November 14th, 2024. There is a registration link that we can provide.
Yes.
So that if there are any educators or you know of any educators that could really benefit from this, please share it with them. Listen, we are in a place and in a time where it is so important that the people that are doing the pouring are being poured back into so that they can continue to pour.
That's right.
I use this analogy, the other day that sometimes we just have to stop putting sugar in the Kool-Aid and just stare at what we already have. Because if we stir it up, it's probably already sweet enough, but we don't know how sweet it really is until we stir it up. And so I want to pour back into the educators so that they can really stir up the things that are inside of them. So when they pour out, they're pouring out something real sweet for whomever is connected to them. Educators, November 14th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Listen, register. We're going to have a good time. And I am simply going to pour back into you because I see you and you do belong. Register today because seats are limited. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh, all right. So I'm talking about. All right. So I put your link at the bottom of the screen here. But so if someone was interested and wanted to go and register, where would they go and register for your free master class?
Absolutely. So the best way to register for the free master class is you can send me a message on Instagram. You can send me a message on LinkedIn. They're both posted there, as well as it's on my link tree. And my link tree is the same thing as Wynette Richardson 1, WYNETTE Richardson, RICHARDSON 1. And the link is right there in my bio. And I can also give you the link as well, and you can post it when you release this, because it is going to be a time for the educators. Listen, we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. And it's free. It's free.
Free 99. Free 99. Girl, come on out here and get it.
99. Only thing you have to do is sign up. Just sign up.
All right. So all
It's
you guys who
free.
are educators or even interested in becoming an educator, you guys go sign up for this workshop. Like she said, it's at Wynette Richardson and the number 1 on her link tree, and then also on IG. And you can find her on LinkedIn at Wynette Richardson on LinkedIn. So you guys come on now, sign up for this workshop so she can go ahead and get y'all on this free. You getting free game from a professor of English. This is not just somebody out here who hoping and praying with. This woman is a whole professor, y'all. So make sure you sign up for this master class.
Yeah, yes. And this is a thing to anybody that's listening, and I want to just be 100% honest. If you're not an educator and you feel that you need your cup poured back into, just still register.
Mm-hmm.
Just still register, because I understand and I know and I see you. Listen, we all need our cups to be filled sometimes. So if you're not an educator, but you work with people and you need your cup filled back up, come on. I'm not going to tell you no, but I will say this: seats are limited and they're filling up. So if you want to come on, let's sign up.
All right, y'all better get it in. Get it in. November 14th. Y'all heard what she said.
Yes, 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 absolutely.
All right. Now I'm gonna ask you my final question I have for you here. It's something I ask all of my guests. Um, the name of the show is Alpha Intuition, and I always tell people about the meaning of it. So it started off with me talking about relationships. We're in the second season of leadership and building corporate relationships. But Alpha Intuition basically started off with men going into relationships as alpha males and women usually going with their intuition. And now it's evolved into me talking about just your alpha intuition in general and how you think about being a leader, because alphas are leaders, right? And we always go with our gut feelings. So what is your alpha intuition and what does it mean to you?
Absolutely. Alpha intuition definitely means, when I think about alpha, I think about the first. If we really go with our first instinct, trust it. Trust it. If we do not go with our first instinct, we're going to add stuff to it. Well, maybe it's not the right time. Or maybe it's, maybe this wasn't for me. Maybe it was for somebody else. Or this isn't the right time because my life is in shambles, or whatever the case may be. I truly believe that if something has been placed in your gut, in your belly, in your heart, in your soul, believe that that's the thing that you are supposed to be doing. And I say that because I wanted to be a teacher at 3 years old. By the time I got to college, I was like, I'm never going to teach anybody's child. That's exactly what I said.
Like, I'm trying not to laugh.
I'm not teaching anybody's child.
On somebody else's.
Yeah, like I'm not teaching anybody's child, right? However, going back to my alpha intuition of being a teacher, here I am educating all over the world, regardless of what I thought. That's what I was created to do when I first got that alpha intuition at 3 years old.
Oh my goodness, girl, that's a mic drop right there. I love that. So basically, your first mind is usually your right mind, no matter what age you are. So at 3 years old, you knew you were going to be a teacher. That is a mic drop for alpha intuition moment right there. That's one of the best ones I've heard thus far. I love it.
Oh wow.
I love it. 3 years old, and it's like even when you try to convince yourself that it's not what you wanted to do, you end up turning around and say, "No, this is what I was created for."
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Well, I was going to say that I want to say thank you. I thank you so very much for showing up, for being vulnerable enough to share your journey with us, for talking to us about just a little bit about how you win in the classroom. And I know we didn't even get into winning with Wynette because, girl, look, I already love that. So I'm just going to drop it real quick. Winning with Wynette on Wednesdays. If you guys do not watch her on Instagram on Wednesday. She's always dropping something out there for you guys for winning with Wynette on Wednesday. That's just something extra that I want throw in there.
Yes, actually, and thank you for saying that. You're absolutely right. I know that if I can just share this really
Go
quickly,
ahead.
I do post about, winning in the classroom and winning as a educator and things of that nature. On Wednesdays, I have a segment that literally just talks about winning in life. So it's Winning Wednesday with Wynette. And sometimes it's just what I'm doing. Sometimes it's a nugget, whatever the case may be. But I want to stop in, especially in the middle of the week, and give you a winning nugget. Winning
Yeah.
Wednesdays with Wynette's on Instagram. Make sure you check it out for sure.
Yes, I'm telling you, she be dropping all kind of gems on Wednesdays. I love it, love it, love it. So keep doing it.
Thank you.
You are brilliant. I love the
Thank
3E
you.
framework. You just trying to remind people on the environment, exposure, and experiences that they need to help to have that
Yes.
winning mindset, to have that shift in how they can be successful. So thank you so much. And I'm gonna put it up here once again, the transformation journey, you guys. I'm putting it over my face so you guys can go and get this. I'm gonna drop the link down when I drop this episode, to put it in the comments so you guys can go and follow
Yes.
Wynette and go and get this transformation journal to start journaling, because I'm trying to get more into journaling myself. So
Yes.
I'm not even gonna say I didn't
Yes.
fill it all out yet, but I'm gonna make sure that I go through here as well just to complete these steps.
Yes. Awesome. 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 Keisha, it's been a pleasure. I truly appreciate you thinking of me to have me on your podcast. I really hope that, everything continues to go extremely well with you. And I'm just excited just to see where Alpha Intuition is going. So again, thank you for having me today. I really appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Like I said, and once again, thank you. You've been a just it's always a joy talking. I love your smile, love your personality, and
Thank
just you
you.
always motivate people all the time. So
Thank
thank
you.
you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
watching. Thank you for hanging out with me and Wynette today. And if you guys found any of this stuff to be transformational or helpful to you, make sure that you leave Wynette a comment and let her know how much you enjoyed what she spoke on, or even mention some of the things that resonated with you. And as always, you guys know we love hearing from our listeners. So if there's any other topics that you want me to discuss on future episodes of Alpha Intuition, just make sure that you leave me a comment letting me know what those things are. All right. So you can always connect with us on social media. As you see, we have them posted below. I'm Keisha the Electrician, and we have Wynette Richardson 1 on IG. So make sure you guys go and like and follow us on our social media pages. And I always tell you guys that even though it's hard out here, but you know that the journey to the top of any mountain begins with one single step. So don't stop, keep climbing. And as always, you guys already know, keep that energy. Peace.